Welcome to Conversations with Cha. I'm your host, Ram Chaudhary, aka Little Baby Ram Ram, and today...
Hi! People did think we were gonna beef, but...
the Chai versus Cha beef would have been crazy.
Yeah, but we're not here to beef, you know? We're here to, like, build a community. We're here to have fun.
Influencing is dead, but because all of y'all are dead influencers. You're not an influencer, you're not a personality, you are an ad.
When you talk about things like sex and especially all this, like, you know, open conversation in general,
You're a problem.
Fuckboy.
People are missing. They want to, like, portray this, like, image. It's like, no, but we don't talk about sex.
It's not classy. You cannot talk about sex.
I'll be racist. I'll be sexist.
I'm like a Gen Z, so I always like quote current like phrase like, oh, there must be something in the water. Like, be so silly too. So I'm like,
That's how you know I'm old. I have no idea what that is. Like, that's a real Gen Z.
I'm manifesting that we're going to be big. Our podcast will not only pick up, but be well known by not just the community, but overall itself. And we're going to be just hotter and better and just sexier.
You guys crush. Today, I have hosts of the pod that everybody thought I was going to beef with to start. I got the hosts of Cha with Bhandoppis. I got my boy Dev and Taz.
Hi. My name is Taz, or Tasnia. I am one of the hosts of Cha with Bhandoppis podcast, which, I mean, yeah, people did think we were going to beef, but
The Chai versus Cha beef would have been crazy.
yeah, but we're not here to beef. You know, we're here to, like, build a community. We're here to have fun, and I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm Dev. I'm the co-host of Cha with Bhandoppis. I am here to have fun and spill tea, spill more cha. And build a community together. And we're here to, you know, spread love.
Yeah,
Yo, stop lying. I love how y'all started with the build community. I love how y'all started with the build community stuff because it makes this part of it easy. Because I guess we should give some background to the audience about how we got connected, right?
Yeah.
So everybody thinks I hate everybody else who pods, and that's not true.
Yeah.
I just hate everybody that doesn't pod well, right? And as soon as I saw your podcast and like the clips that we can absolutely get into, like why
I saw her, I followed her back. She's a Bengali creator, and I love to follow like Bengali creators. And then she made a whole video about like, oh, the things that I don't do now that I'm 30. And I'm like, oh my God, you sound like a bore.
Getting right into that one, okay.
the thing that stood out to me, and it kind of put me on this like 2-week journey of just like authenticity, because that's immediately what I took from y'all clips, right? I first saw the initial clips, I was like, oh, is this just gonna be like clickbaity nonsense? But then I was like, okay, no. This came from like a real authentic place, right? Like when you guys think about it now, like what was it, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, right? How do you guys like look back at that?
I mean, look, like our podcast name is literally Cha with Bhandoppis, which directly translates to tea with your girlfriend. So we're not here to be like filtered in the first place. We want to just like be authentic. We want to be real. We want to like talk about like just ourselves and be transparent about it, because honestly, we don't see a lot of transparency, especially in the South Asian community. I feel like we always want to like build up that whole like excellent, like the perfect story, and we never are truly honest about what took us here. And that's what we want to do. We wanted to come in and just have fun and honestly just be honest about different people, different brands, different, even like the guests that we're going to have on. It's their authentic story. And that's what our platform was like based on. Like we want to like have fun and just like have a good time. No censorship here, and just...
No, I think me and Tas, we both talked about it, that South Asians, we're educated and we all have an opinion. And I think we need to actually share those opinions. I think being South Asian, I think you can definitely relate to this. Everybody is opinionated, but there's this now becoming a filter and like a censorship conversation. Like, oh, what will people think? What will people say? Why not just say it? So our initial... is like, oh, just be loud, say it. Whether people agree or disagree, just say your opinion.
And not just that, like, we're brown. Like, most of us went to college, and like, we have opinions. And the truth is, like, I haven't ever seen like a group of like brown people sitting down and not voicing their opinions. It's just the fact that a lot of us just on social media aren't comfortable doing so, because we don't know what brands are affiliated with who and what they're doing. So we're just a lot more like cautious, but it's like, we want to take that off. Like, why? And I don't think there's a lot of that exists that within our community where we take the Band-Aid off and we're like, here who we are and see it for us. And if you don't like it, that's your problem.
No, I think you guys hit the nail right on the head, right? Because I think that like some of the shit is like the fakest shit in the world, right? And it like I don't know how well I'm articulating this to y'all, how much y'all initial, I guess, like pod really got me thinking about how I politic around. Because I told y'all off mic, right? I go into a lot of these rooms and I'm all like, I don't like a lot of y'all. Like a lot of y'all morals and ethics don't really like line up with me, right? I politic here because I think, oh, like my business needs to be here, right? So therefore I need to tolerate you or I need to be fly with you, right? And you see that across the board, right? Because I don't do that as like relative to your average influencer. Like most of these people don't like the person that they're talking to. Yo, there's some guests that have been on this pod that I'm like, you don't like me. You don't really rock with me.
That's true.
That's definitely true.
And it's the fact that, like, I don't know why we can't just be honest. Like, listen, I don't have to like you as a person. I can still respect your craft, right? And I think that's the part that we're really missing in the South Asian community. We want to be like, oh yeah, like, we like your craft, so I think you're a good person. No, like, I can still think that sometimes, like, the things you say is like, I don't agree with, and that's okay. And I can still respect what you do. Like, I respect your podcast and I respect the things you say. But if you said something I don't like, I can be like, oh, he said something I didn't like. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not attacking you. I'm attacking an idea, right?
When we say that we're all intelligent, I think that's like the part of the discourse that gets lost, right? To say that, because you think that me commentating on this or me checking you on something that I think like is morally or ethically like unviable is me saying like, yo, fuck this person, right? But that's not really what I'm saying, right? It's like, I'm saying like, yo, fuck this idea. And then whatever y'all choose to do with that information is up to you. But it's up to me to at least present that information or present that perspective. Because I think like when we talk about individual like influencers or whatever, your experience is not my experience and my experience is not your experience. But knowing that you experienced that, or knowing that you experienced that with a brand, or knowing that you experienced that with a person, that is information that is helpful.
Correct.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's sometimes very like eye-opening. Like for me, when I see someone like really be honest about their experience, especially with a brand, it gives me a perspective like, okay, let me, even if I am in contact with them, let me see if I get the same idea. And if I do, I know what's for me and what's not, rather than just like going in and like being like, oh yeah, like think of like a product, right? Like people go on and influencers, most of the times they're paid or they're getting free products and they're using it and they're like, oh, this is amazing. But then you put it on and it's like, wow, I wasted my money. And that is not what I want to do.
I think a lot of people nowadays just do it for the check and then like they forgot. Like I like that you mentioned in the beginning that morality and like where your ethics stands. I think a lot of us just forgetting that, and then it's people are just doing it for the check. And I think we need to like have a conversation like, oh, it's more than just a check. You can state your voice. I feel like you need to talk about things like that matters. Whether, like I said, I could not like you as a person, but whether you say something that's like meaningful and that's like I agree with, I'm going to say like, oh, I fuck with that shit. But then totally, this is nothing personal. What about the dialogue you're presenting in front of me? And I definitely need to like agree or disagree with that. But I don't go at you as a person. I'm not going to make any comments like at you as a person, but the ideas that you present. So I think a lot of us like are afraid of the idea of taking disagreement. I think this current generation is like they're in fear of like, oh, you cannot have disagreement. But I feel like learning starts when there's a friction. I could have an opinion, you could have an opinion. And if there's a friction, I only learn when you challenge me, right? That's when the ideas comes up. So the new generation is like hate to take criticism, whether it's like constructive or like any criticism in general. I feel like
and also,
nobody
like,
want to talk about things.
Like, and you know, and the good thing, well, what was really interesting to see is when you also like really gave your opinion, and it was such a non-biased opinion, right? And
so for everyone who's saying that they're so outraged, if they put out another pod tomorrow, you guys are gonna watch and listen, right? Like, because you guys want to know what they said. You can see that with like their clips all getting pretty significant views, and all the creators responding that are also getting pretty significant views. Such
a non-biased opinion, right? And it's like, we didn't see a lot of that. We were when the whole thing went down, we were very engaging with the commenters because we wanted to know what we did wrong. And we wanted
Which you guys cooked, by the way. I wanted to put that on thing. I think y'all cooked by doing that, right? Because I've seen so many people that not even duck the smoke, but just duck the engagement. Because like, I'm not going to put a name on the bullet, but there's plenty of people that I've said what I did for y'all is exactly what I've done a bunch of other times that they never responded back.
Right.
Quite the contrary, when I brought it up to them in person, they acted like they hadn't seen it. But I know for a fact that you've seen
We all
it.
see it.
We all see it.
So I'm like, why are you? And I'm like, even for the business perspective, it's a missed opportunity. Like the whole reason that we do this is we create narratives and we create universes where people like can truly exist on.
Yeah.
Right.
Think about it. This pod is going to be a 4-week rollout by us unintentionally.
Absolutely. And you know, it's so interesting you say that, because after that, we have reached out to a few people because of that whole situation. They weren't willing to come on. But then we reached out to other people who were so willing to come on. And that showed us that too. Like, but maybe in the future you wouldn't have that opportunity, right? Like,
Right.
so you should take it when you have it. And I do think like when you have a chance to like really showcase your platform, just take it.
Yeah.
Really take it. And
I like when you say like, oh, like there is no engagement and people are not responding. I feel like we both took this as like, oh, you say something and I say something. It, once again, it's nothing personal, but take it as a joke or take it as like a critic. Make you like respond to it.
Continue.
That's how the engagement continues.
Right.
That's how we grow.
I think
I
it's
feel like
so-
there's no fun in there in this kind of like environment. Your pod, like I said, chai versus cha right now. It's just engagement. You have to engage with things to actually like build a connection, or whether to build a connection, build a view.
yeah.
Like,
and call us catty or like
yeah.
whatever, but we're like loud and we love to like
Yeah.
not argue, but we love to debate. Okay.
We love to
be
debate.
like, all right, listen, I think you're wrong because you're whatever. And you can tell me and I'll be like, oh, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I am this.
No, I gave her an example. Like, oh, I feel like everybody wants to be like a Switzerland. Like they want to be neutral. Like, oh, I'm not going to participate in this because then I don't want to get dragged.
You know what's crazy though? Like I used to think it's like not that deep, but then I realized that it's actually so much deeper. Influencing is dead, not because influencing is dead, but because all of y'all are dead influencers. All of y'all don't actually stand for anything. It's like you said, whoever gave you a check, that is your only mouth point. That is your only mouthpiece. That is your only contribution, is to sell something. You're not an influencer. You're not a personality. You are an ad, right? You're just an ad space. Like, and to go deeper into like that conversation about like what that, I used to think it wasn't deep. I used to look at it as like, oh, like you're just a bum because you're just taking this check, right? And somebody gave it to you and therefore you're just going to shill this like shitty product, right?
Right.
But now based off of your TikTok, I've been thinking about it on a much deeper level, right? Which is that all of these checks say something, right? Like we think it's as simple as somebody gave me $100, I'm going to go push that product, or somebody gave me $500, I'm going to push this event, or I'm going to push this company, right? But then you realize you are participating off of just a check. And most of y'all are taking shitty checks anyway.
Right.
Most of y'all are selling out off of a shitty check. Because you brought up, you have a TikTok, right? And the one that I'm referring to, that
Yes.
I would love to hear your experience on it, because that got me to think like, yo, it's not as simple as taking a check. You're actually saying something a lot larger than that.
I have recently turned down a brand deal. So last year, I posted a video right after I got married that I met my husband through an app. And the app was once Muslim owned that has been acquired by a bigger group.
When I met my husband through the Salams app, which looking back, I'm like, okay. At the time, obviously I used it, and I made a video after my wedding kind of crediting the app, and immediately that had like over 100,000 views. The outreach was not only in the US, but like UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and just like even in the Middle East. And when I found out that they actually use like diasporic like faces to like use as a marketing tactic, it was really disappointing. It's like, wow, in the long run, I actually contributed to most likely, because people were like, oh, I'm downloading it right now, more generating users that could potentially help to create what is the big picture, what is like their success story, right? Like, I'm pretty sure they're still on navigating that. And it's, the app was once Muslim owned and it's been acquired by like a bigger group. So it's no longer Muslim owned. And to even have that, you regret it. And at the time they told me if I essentially like make another video about it and become their like creator, they connected me with someone from their team. The numbers were looking really good, but I just couldn't do it. It's like, how can I be the face of something that I know essentially is causing so much harm? And I have myself like a story of like displacement. Like I never belonged in a country. Like I was deported from like Korea to Bangladesh when I was like 6. So like and it was with my mom. We were in like an orange outfit. It was terrible. It was so tacky. We were like in a handcuff from like the air. Like, from like the custody to like the airport. And I remember thinking like, okay, now looking back, oh, that was kind of hot. But like, obviously not at the time. That wasn't fun. And knowing that I have that displacement story, how can I contribute to something, especially in this political climate? I cannot be okay with that.
Right.
I'm so glad that you said that and you're cognizant of that. And that TikTok got me thinking and then got me on a spiral. And I guess I should address it now, right? So like that got me to really think about how I politic around, right? Because like the same things that we're shitting on other people for doing, like I could say I'm kind of like guilty of, but not in a cognizant way. I just never asked or I never cared to know, right? Because like I'm like always focused on like my business, right? But exactly what you said. How can I come from where I come from? How can I be of a people that came from what we came from, right? And still not, people love saying it, stand on business, right? So, because like that got me, and let's get into it, right? Like that got me to look at something. I was like literally at the crib, and like, because there's a TikTok going around right now that a lot of people have hit me about. So there's a brown brand with a founder that's pro-Israel. I feel like I have to say something. I'm chilling at the crib, right? Like we talking about our pod. I see that a founder of a brown, quote unquote, brown brand is pro-Israel. And, it's like somebody that I've had respect for on like a business level and all of that, right? But larger than that, like it got me really thinking about that, right? Which is like, what am I really doing, right? Is it just capital acquisition? Like, am I just keeping relationships with people and businesses and brands based off of like, I need them one day or I need the money one day or whatever it is, right? Because like, yo, Wolf, can we ISO on me here? If you are a brown or black business and you are looking at what's happening in Palestine and you have anything to say outside of Free Palestine, like, fuck y'all.
No,
honestly,
keep on clocking.
Honestly, because here's the thing, and if you're if you're a brown or black business and you claim to be that, and you're saying anything other than Free Palestine, then fuck y'all. Yeah. Because, and if you're a brown or black consumer and you're looking at some of these businesses and you're not saying fuck them, then we are not, like, let's make it clear, right? Like we are on very different sides of this. Because I think that we get caught up in that like a lot, right? Because I'm thinking about this as like, yo, there's so many things that humans and people like disagree on constantly, right? And that's fine. Like you can look, y'all said it, we can have a difference in opinions. But where I draw that line or where I'm going to front line this is if you can look at like women and children being killed every day on your Instagram feed and your TikTok feed, and you're not standing and pushing that line, what are we talking about here, right? Because like, listen, a lot of y'all hit me and a lot of y'all are upset, but I want y'all to know, like, I am the walking embodiment. The reason I do this is so I can stand on my own too. Because like realistically, I don't want that check.
Yeah.
No, I think me and both talk about it, right? We're both not conservative. Look at me. I'm openly a queer person who just always vocal about my identity, and we both of us will always stand on the right side of the history. If you go back to our social media, we always spoke our mind and we always said what was right, the current political issue or the social injustice is happening. I feel like a lot of us South Asians is like totally selling for breadcrumbs. And look at this side of the people, like this color, they're getting a fat check. And then you are selling, this side of the people are selling for like a bare minimum. So they're like this community, they just, whatever the little bare minimum they get, they just sell out so easily. And we have nothing of our own as of now. I don't see anything as like for us actually. So I like I always said, I'll always be on the right side of the history. I always spoke my mind, and being queer, I feel like that I know where this struggle is coming from, and I resonate with a lot of the people. And we always speak about this, like even like personal conversation over the phone or something, we're always talking about this. Like for a longer time, I feel like the extent of diversity or the representation we had was mainly Kaling, right? And like look right now, we have, so when you say the term South Asian, right, what comes to your mind, Ihram? I think most people will think like, say to like a from a white person, right? They're gonna say, oh, a South Asian is like Indian, right? There's more to it. There's more country. There's like Sri Lankans. There's like Bangladeshis. There is Nepalis, right?
So I'm glad you're saying this. So because like I 100% get that. So like, I came in, and maybe this is naive of me, right? I looked at somebody because I know how America looks at it. I'm like, yo, like realistically, I always thought that, yo, if you're brown, I always just identified as like, yo, those are my people. If you're brown, black, if you're just not white, I identify that those are my people.
And that's white, my people.
That's how I looked at it. Cause like I came from like, you know, obviously I'm Bengali as fuck, but like I've had to navigate a predominantly Indian space, right?
Exactly.
And you know, that's cool, and I'm fine with that, right? But I think that to understand that like, hey, there is a difference, and some people are not my people, because that's what I'm realizing. It's not the color of my skin that makes certain people my people, right? It is the way that they think, and then the way that they look at the world, and their perspective that's shaped by the color of their skin, or should be shaped at the color of their skin. Because like realistically, after all of this, after like you just saw a bunch of brown babies get killed, you think that any different? The difference between us
and the people
and the people in Palestine? Because it's not skin color, it's where we are geographically.
Absolutely. 100%. And I think as people, like when I'm going to go back to the whole brand thing. It's like, whenever I, nowadays I feel like there's a lot of like diversity hire, and a lot of like, obviously I see a lot more brown people. And I see it's like, you know what the brand stands for, and you're still about that. It's like, we're not on the same wavelength. We're not.
Yes. And listen, let's make it clear. If a lot of y'all are going to be out here making business difficult for creators because of their stance on this, then like, honestly, we don't need y'all. We control the end consumer. Like that's what people aren't realizing. And that's the conversation I'm having behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all need all the people and their money.
Right.
Because everyone always remembers the person that is already the business or is already the money, right? And I'm like, yes, but for that money to make money, they need people like me and you to support them. Because otherwise, you're just a brand propped up on money on people that are never going to make money back on your investment.
Absolutely.
And I think that we have now as like, I'm a super capitalist, right? Like I believe that that's the only thing that...
I mean, we live in a capitalistic country, right?
Yeah, you have to be.
We live in a capitalistic country. Wake up, we go and spend $8 coffee. Like this is a capitalistic country.
I think we got to be so much more cognizant of that, because if we're saying that that's the only thing that matters, that America only care about the dollar and people only care about the dollar... Yo, everybody who says that, hey, there's not enough that we could do, right? It started with, I got to ask myself that. All of us individually, it's like if I'm saying a company's name, that's $1 I'm pushing that way. So I am inadvertently in support of something that does not align with my values.
You know, what I will say, I love that. I love that take. And also like, since October 7th, I have not, I've gotten like, makeup tutorial, hair tutorial, because I just make like creative content on my own outside of podcast, and I have not made a single video because it's like, how can I confidently talk about a product unless it's fully like pro-Palestine, knowing that, okay, me saying that this works could essentially have someone like spend that money. I can't do that. I can't
Absolutely.
do that.
No, even going back to like because I've always been pro-Palestine, and then things are happening. I'm going to speak for my people too, like things that are happening in Bangladesh. I've been always on in the front line of the protest. Like I've gotten protests for like Palestinians, I've gotten protests for Bangladeshis, I've gotten protests for the Sudanese and because I feel like if it's not us who's going to actually speak for us, because we're the one who is being dominated by other. So like we have to actually stand together to actually and stand on ground. I like I said previously, I'm not going to settle for breadcrumbs, and I don't take like shit for an answer, and I'm gonna speak my mind. And
I think that is one of the best forms of like resistance, which is just standing in the opinion and letting others know that, yo, like I'm rocking with you. Because just like I'm saying, there's like a lot of people that hit me up behind the scenes being like, yo, think about the business, like think about like that relationship that you might need. A lot of people hit me about that. Like I'm not.
Look, I feel like we're still in the early stages of like just like brown and black products like being produced and just like being marketed. So I feel like we're still in the early stages. If those businesses don't work out, there's going to be another one who's going to work with us.
And that is the perspective.
That's the one we're going to
And that's
support.
The one that we should be pushing up, right?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, because like fuck, like there's so much diversity and thought and product, right? That like if you feel like, hey, this business don't align with your values, go support the
next one.
go support the
The next
other
one.
3 that do.
I
If
mean,
you-
maybe they're not as popular because you just don't see it because it's our people, like I said, pushing the product that we're not supposed to be.
but make it
pushing.
popular.
Exactly.
Because like me and my girl had this conversation like a lot because we went behind the scenes. Like, I take every decision with this pod and like the brand like very carefully, right? Like I don't just like rash make decisions. And like a lot of the conversation is like, oh, but like the people that are on like the wrong side of this are like the people that control and have the money. And I'm like, yeah, but that's by us letting that happen. If everyone tomorrow is like, yo, fuck it, we're taking a hard line. 53% of Pew Research, this is like a real stat. Pew Research put out 53% of Americans do not hold a favorable opinion on Israel. So imagine tomorrow, those 53% are all like, you know what? We're gonna push a line with this. This is the stance that we're gonna have. And we're not buying, we're not watching, we're not doing anything that supports innocent people being killed. Watch how quickly the world change.
I was going to say, I believe in like POC supremacy. I feel like if we all come together, we can take over the world. Like we can take over American.
I believe in humanity I believe in humanity supremacy, right?
Okay.
Because I think that like I think that there's like this like huge understanding like that the world is inherently bad. I like to believe that the world is inherently good. Like a majority, there's more good people in the world than there are bad, right?
people.
But it's just that the good people, y'all ever seen like A Bug's Life, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just that the good people feel so siloed, and that's by design. They want us to all feel like, yo, they want me to think that I'm competing with you.
Right.
They want you to think that you're competing against the other brown girls that are like also doing content.
Right.
They want that, right? Because by yourself, you're like you're really like an ant.
Right, absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
But a million of us.
Yeah. It makes something. It makes something so big. And I feel like that's just what we have to do. I always talk about this. I feel like just at this current, like, oh my God, this is a fully different conversation. But like in this state of the world, like we have to be communal. We have to like help each other out. The next person, like, it's something as simple as, okay, like I have, I don't know, like this membership. Let's go use it all together. Let's like build this communal society and help each other out. And I feel like that's just what we're missing. We're always competing. We're never like helping the next person.
Yeah. I think that's like a shame because I think like a lot of people saw like y'all, a lot of the responses to y'all are not because they actually care about that other influencer or they care about the thing. It's just that, oh, yo, they lit. Like, I don't like that, right? So this is A, my opportunity to get lit off of them, and B, also simultaneously try to tear them down.
No, honestly, I think it was fun for a lot of people to give given their opinion, right? It was fun. It was fun to see people actually saying like what they wanted to say.
Yeah.
And I love to hear it. I love, because I kept all my comments up and I'm like, no filters. I told like all my social, no filters over here. I want to hear everyone saying shit to me or whatever not. I have a pretty thick skin. I can take criticism. Whether it's constructive or like whether it's an insult, right? So I'm like, I'm grown into like a queer community where I always get hated on. Like, come on, why would you find one like
I'm loud, like I'm loud,
non-conservative woman right over here, and like a Bengali and gay man? Like, I don't think any like a duo anywhere. So I was ready for all the hate and every comment. But you know what was really funny? Every person that actually made a video, I never saw the response as a, like you said, like she mentioned earlier for you that you are like non-biased, right? I want to hear it. Or there is non-biased or whatever it was. A lot of people came as to critique like, oh, this is my time to shine. I'm going to choose a side right now. I'm going to shine over here.
And then started like homophobia and
it started
other stuff. But, like,
it started like talking about all the personal things, and I'm like,
but like we know who we are, so it's like it doesn't phase us. Like we weren't like we were like, okay, like this is a lot. I was more upset that people were doing that to him.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's been gay for like however long he's lived. Like
say gay, I'm like,
he doesn't
yes,
care.
and what else? Like I'm like, what else? Like what else is there? But then they think that's like the lowest of lowest they can come off as like to insult them. I'm like, I'm gay. You said the correct thing, but I'm like, what else? What else is there? So we
loved all the critiques actually.
Yeah.
If you notice, like we not just
responded.
other than that. Like I think we always respond to all the critiques just because we're like it's fun. Like I said, like we're argumentative, as in we love to like put in data, we love to do research, and we love to be like, all right, but X, Y, and Z. And like, if
a
you
lot
have
of
a
people
comeback,
think
great.
Pass and me, the friendship that is how it started all, right? A lot of people think it's like social media performative, but like both of us, I feel like we found each other in the like a moment of hate. We both popped up at the same time, and then everybody's hating on us. Like, come on, you're being hot, people will dislike you. You're looking pretty, people will dislike you. Me shaking my ass on the internet, people will dislike me. But in that time, I feel like we both just found each other. And I think we never made a content together, but just was there for each other. And I think that's how it's like started.
Yeah.
So like
our
even
friendship's never
taking
been
the
performative.
criticism together, we took all the criticism together. If you know how I said, like, state your opinion. A lot of people are like, oh, this is giving like auntie behavior, or this is giving like this comment. I'm like, well, we're saying in front of the camera, this is for a reason though. I want you to have a friction with me so I can hear your side of the story, right? Your story is important. I want to hear it. And what I did wrong, I wanted to pinpoint it. But also give me the time to actually like grow with expect me to grow. I'm young. I have a lot of time to like, grow out of the kind of mentality I'm in. I'm going to be a different person.
But I don't even think it's that mentality. Like, I think that there's nothing wrong with that mentality, right? Because I think the more auntie thing is to do the shit talking behind, like you said, you're standing in it.
I'm going to ask you one question. You're in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
If you always agree with your girlfriend, is it fun? Don't you like challenges? You need challenge in life.
Trust me, I love challenge. Trust me, I love challenges.
And
Trust me. I don't know my girl. I love challenges.
If both person is just agreeing with us, it's a boring relationship. I mean, that's what my take is on. Like, you have to the disagreement makes it interesting.
And we're always even like teaching each other.
I
have Twitter fingers. Like anything that happens, I'm like, oh.
Are you the one with Twitter fingers, or is he the one with Twitter fingers?
You see how I'm coming up as a loud. I think I never expected Taz as like someone who is like Twitter fingers, like whatever she thinks, she goes like da, 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 da. And I'm like over here, I'm like, I'm the loudest one. Like, I feel like I'm very loud, and I still in my head I'm thinking 10 times what could be the response from the opponent person, like before I say it. So it's like our personality, people like, it's so unexpected. Yeah, we just,
Yo, don't lose that, y'all. Like, don't lose the Twitter fingers, right? Because that's what makes like I hit y'all.
Twitter
But I also know at the end of the day, I stand for the things that I believe are morally right, correct at the end of the day. So even if with my Twitter finger, it's okay.
Like that again, like I think that's where like when there was like there's a small risk, right? When I first saw y'all pod, I was like, this is about to be some clickbaity bullshit, right? But I was like, no. They really mean this shit, and it's authentic, and you could tell. Like, I could tell when somebody's just like, you're doing this for a click, right? But when you really, hey, my name is Lil Baby Rama, and I stand behind this message, right?
Yeah.
Right.
When I get that type of energy, where it's like, okay, like you really feel that way because you feel verified that it's in my morals and in my ethics or in my view of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Fucking be honest, because you should never lose that. Like, that's what's gonna make y'all pod cook, right? It's just that. Because everybody is so tired of like, listen, there's so many pods that, you know how many pods I've seen in the year and a half I've been doing this, right? That like, yo, somebody just pays an editor and somebody gets a camera and somebody go talks with their friends and they think it's like thing. That's why that shit does not work, right? Why? Because everybody is tired of your same, oh, I got bullied as a kid because my lunchbox smelled type narrative, right? Because you're only saying that because it's safe, easy clicks.
Right.
You're not willing to actually stand in anything and be like, it'll get clicks. You might not love all the clicks.
Right. And you know what? We stand so strongly with everything that we believe. But all the things that we believe, they're all like ran by each other and just like people around us. And it's like, and we are accepted and loved for what it is. Like, a lot of the responses also like to the thing, it's like, how is your family okay with it? And it's like, our families love us. Like, they know who we are.
My family is okay with everything. I mean, it was a very funny question. It's like, oh, is your family proud? I'm like, yes. Is your...
But you know where that comes from? Is because people think that it's an act, right? Like people for them, this is episode 5 of knowing you or episode 6 of knowing you. Yeah. For my family, this is who I've been my entire fucking life. Because this is not an act. This is who I am. My friends, my family, they know what it is over here, right?
Exactly.
It's just y'all that are like, okay, like this is like, what are your family gonna think? Bro, they got over that when I was 13 and I've been doing this shit.
Listen, I mean, I don't know about him so much. I don't think I ever asked you this, but I was a teacher's pet growing up, okay? Not teacher's pet, but it's like, if you say something in the class, I'll be like, no, but I think this. Like, I think this. And I have the same exact personality. I'm a nerdy kid at heart. So I'm always going to be like, but you said this. No, but I think X, Y, and Z because I did X, Y, and Z research. And it's like, that's never going to change. And I'm
always like, if I see something wrong, whether it's like a silly way or like a direct approach, I'm always going to like point it out. And like, I never agree. Like if I see something like that's like, I'm never going to accept disrespect, like as a form of payment. I'm always going to like point it out, like what's wrong, whether it's in a friendship, relationship, wherever I go, I'm always like pointing it out. So that's my shit. I feel like that's
confrontational people. We're very much like, you said this, I don't like that so much. But you know, I love that. I feel like our society lacks so much of that. I feel like growing up, like whenever our family like talked to us about something, we were always like, okay, we can't say anything back in response because that's disrespectful. And I feel like we carry that same exact mentality as like an adult. And no, it's not disrespectful. You can't tell me that I'm wrong and I will be like, okay, I can.
Bro, because how do you fix things in a community? We always talk about community, right? Like everyone just screams community, right? But what creates a community is not a bunch of individuals, that's a dictatorship. A bunch of individuals just falling in line to like some predetermined like how you're supposed to act, right? Community is, hey, this person did X, Y, and Z wrong. Let's talk about it as a community and fix it and address it, right? Community is like, yo, these businesses are operating unfairly. As a community, we're not going to allow that, right?
Yeah.
Like people always want to talk about like the catchphrase like community or like representation, right? But what does that really mean, right? The whole reason that we all do what we do and we scream for brown and black people is because we want to see communities and businesses that reflect our standards and morals and principles. Like that is it. That's the reason why we do this. I don't pod because like there's 18 million of us, and it's because I truly believe that the community that I look for in the world needs voices, right? And I think like the voice that y'all are going to provide, because I believe that y'all are going to pod for like a long time, right?
Thank you for that.
Like y'all are going to be like a real authentic voice. Like I hope y'all continue that. Like I don't mean that in like I just want to see the messiness.
No, honestly,
if y'all truly believe some shit, say it.
Having both of us here at Chai by Ihram, this is actually a representation. This is where the community that you just mentioned, this is where you support your community, because this is a whole representation. Look at us, both of us Bengalis here. Like now, like people are watching us. That's a form of representation, right? So I think
like the fact that people like us exist, right? I think it's like, I don't think a lot of people would be gay and so proud.
I see some brown like gay men, but brown as in like Indian, like, but I don't see any Bengali gay men like in front of a fucking camera. I said, I'm sorry, but I don't see anyone in front of the camera like being loud and vocal about things, right? Since I'm silly, people think like I don't know my shit, but I feel like people forget that I have a freaking degree. Like I graduated with I am also educated too. South Asians are educated. If I give you the statistic, they're like Bengalis, like especially like 78% are like education isn't in Bangladesh. So people think coming from this kind of country or this kind of community,
especially when they hear an accent or like they see that.
Even if I have an accent, you understand me, right?
Yeah.
And we always say this. I think even the last one we said, it's like, sometimes I mess up a word, right? Because it's like, I came here, like 10 years ago? And it's like, sometimes I say things and it takes me a second and people immediately make that like note of it and they're like, oh, you're not smart enough. And it's like, but you understand me.
All right.
You understand me.
And again, back to like, I hate to always bring it back to like the influencers that have like those pre-recorded, like whatever. It's like, yes, like, I think what you're saying is so important, right? Because it is important that people see and you're breaking those like stigmas and stereotypes in people's minds. Because I'm like, yo, don't get it twisted, right? Just because I talk like this and I got a little drawl on my words, right? Does not erase the fact that, fam, in another world, I'm an astronaut. I'm a 2300 on my SATs. Like I have a degree. Like in another world, I'm an astronaut or a lawyer.
People really guess like us coming from like a whole different country. Like I live half life there, half life here. I had to learn a whole different language.
We had to be the parents to our parents.
We had to be the parents of our parents, but people don't understand. Like we read, we are okay about things. We know what's going around us. We know what's actually happening. But just because we have an accent, or just because we cannot like articulate, like you said in the beginning of the podcast, like you cannot like get the words out. I know you're smart. Like, I know you know your shit. You're educated. Like, that's what people don't get. But I think it's more or so now is the time that we need to like let people know that we know our shit. Like, you know, we got
Yeah,
this.
I was going to say, like, and the reason why we even did this podcast in the first place is because we knew, I mean, when we talk, it's not just about fun stuff. Of course, we're friends. We're talking fun stuff too. But then we're like, did you see what's going on in this? Every morning I wake up and I read like what's going on in the world. Like I have a whole discussion with my husband and I'm like, did you see this? With all my friends, I'm like, did you see this? Like, this is insane. And we know our voices matter, whether you like it or not, whether it's too loud, whether you think it's like annoying, whether sometimes we say silly things, but outside of that, maybe if you look more deeper, or maybe if you actually watch the whole episode, you'll see we say very important
It's
things.
so funny how I'm sure the same happens to you. Some people will clip that one little thing that you said, and then that's it. Oh, no, you say some bad stuff. I'm like, did you watch the entire thing?
No.
You listen, are you even listening?
They care for the drama.
I'm sure it happened to you too. Like you got like, you know, taken out of context, and like it happens very often in these kind of, especially in social media. Anything you say, it can be clipped anywhere, and it can be taken out of context.
I was like, damn, like this is like one of the DMs that I got regarding the TikTok about Aavrani's founder, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They were like, wait, but you're...
Which, by the way, T, thank you so much for letting us know. You were like...
If you didn't say it...
I never bought the product for a reason, thank
right,
God.
I would have never known about this. Like, so thank you. This is how it starts.
But it's crazy because I didn't realize, because again, maybe because I haven't asked the question, because it hasn't benefited me to ask the question, which is how many more people that I look at as like business partners or potential relationships that are pushing that part of the line, right? Because like I was so shocked to see how many other people had other brands and businesses that I'm familiar with, know people at, and I'm like, it kind of was like a real rabbit hole moment.
Actually,
Like
even that specific brand, like the launch of the brand, I remember how big that was within the, especially Desi New York City community. And like how many people don't actually stand for that message, and yet they were there because they weren't honest. They weren't clear about that messaging, right? And I think that's another thing that people aren't often clear. And I think, honestly, I believe in, like I said, like because of my story, I've always been very political. Like I believe in being political and intentional. And I feel like we need to, at this point, like we have to start off with like, these are my beliefs. And
we should be asking that. I think that's like the part, right? Because like I think when I attribute it, and I still don't know, right? And like let me put that on record. Like I don't know, right? Because I said one of the founders of Aavrani,
Right.
As an entire company, as individuals, like I don't know, right? But the reality is I need to know. Like I need y'all to tell me. Like if you're like, that's why I started that entire like little rant by saying like I need y'all to tell me, because like I need to know. Like I need to know if I'm taking a check from you.
Transparency is really important because that's how you know like what's going on.
And even, you know, I mentioned Salams. If you go on their social media page, you will see they're talking about Free Palestine, but they're not being honest about the fact that they were acquired and
that's the only part, the honesty part, right? Just tell me, and then after, if I make a decision,
that's
like,
on me.
Yeah, like if, because we all make that decision every day. Like, let's not get it twisted, right? Like somebody in my comment was like, yo, like, do you use like Instagram? Do you use like Amazon? Then like your support, it's like, okay, but we all know that, right? We all know that all these places have things that we use in our everyday lives. But when it's in a smaller microcosm, and not only that, the options are so unlimited. Like if you don't have, there's no real option outside of Instagram or like TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist yet. When it does, I will be there, right? But
which I mean, I think there will be. I am very optimistic. I think our, especially this generation, we're all smart. And I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen.
Young people amaze
I feel
me.
like even like we talked about a lot of like the transparency and everything. And like we talked about like for the past few minutes, I want to go back to mention one part. You know how brown community is like some, especially men. Let's talk about like men. I hate men in general. I don't know why I'm gay. Like sometimes I
hate
think
men.
about it. By the way, you have like really pretty clear skin. I don't know who put you on. Like this might be the time you actually talk about the skincare, and that can be clipped, okay? Because that skin is like really clear. I keep on looking.
You know what's crazy? I'm like the most man with my skincare. It's just water and my mom's genetics. Yeah,
That's why I hate men. I feel like men don't do anything.
It's water and my mom's genetics.
He has like the prettiest like skin. Anyways, no nazar. But I want to go back like to like, you know, men in general, like especially brown men. I feel like everybody's trying to be like, most people are trying to be so woke. But when I see them in person, I met so many influencers. I met so many people that makes content. They're so comfortable saying the N-word behind the scene. It makes me so sick. Okay, I moved here like a couple of years ago, like I said, and I'm in Bangladesh, in Bangla medium school. You're not educated on this kind of study, right? When I first moved here, and it's really used as like a very common phrase, and I was like, is this supposed to be like a cool word? In my social history class, my teacher gave me a whole lesson. You're not how is disrespectful, right? Ever since, I never, because it is once I get like educated on it. I'm not saying it, right? But I've been around people, right, who are so open-minded, but they comfortably say words like that. It just sickens me, and I'm like,
because they're all playing a role.
And
they're all playing a character.
they're all playing a character.
They don't even know who the person of them is.
You put on this like beautiful like filter and everything. You come in front of the camera and you're like, oh, I'm this kind of, I'm this, I'm that. But I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
And
so
yeah, I was gonna say, like, especially growing up in like both of us came from Bangladesh.
right.
Like, I was like sexist, racist,
Right.
everything in the world. Like I remember I was such a colorist. I had a whole Twitter like where like I made a comment and someone was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you're
Right.
such a colorist. And I'm like, yeah.
Nah, that's so real though. Yo, this is why I love y'all. Yeah, that's so real.
It's
No,
true.
to say that. Like, no, that's valid,
And then
right?
I learned and I was like, whoa, I was such a problem. Like, what am I doing with my life?
Bro.
And I had to learn. And after that, okay, I say it all, I don't say it often enough, but I went to school with Pop Smoke. I went to a very like I went to Richmond Hill, and if you know Richmond Hill, like the number of Black and Spanish people is very high, and like that's what I grew up around. So I thought, okay, it's probably cool to say that word. But then I like learned, even after history. I mean, you're smart enough. Me, I learned that. I was like, I don't care. It's a book.
Honestly, it makes me really uncomfortable when people say it like comfortably. Like I get like a little like hesitant, and I'm like, I have to stay away from you because like
Yeah.
if that's your like, you know, ethic, I don't want to be around you. And I immediately separate myself. I always find a group of people where I'm like, wait a second, I could learn from you. That's where I'm gonna stand. And you know, funny thing, like, you know, being gay and like I talk about sex all the time. What's wrong with people talking about sex? Like it's a form of it could be either educated for some people, or it could be like, you know, a standpoint. You talk about something, right? I get like comments like all the time, your idea of like always sound like man sex, this. I feel like you get the same kind of comment. Or you always
Yeah, and
like,
you know, like I
Brown people
said,
are just
like,
weird about
I had
that,
to
though.
learn about,
is it
right?
Brown people are just weird.
why do I have to be like my mom and dad?
Well, you know why?
kiss, you get
You know why,
babies.
though?
No, that's not the conversation. Let's talk about
You know
things
why
that
though,
actually,
right? Like
yeah.
that's like slowly like cultured into you, right? Like it's because we come from that culture that like that's why like that's the same reason like
But when you're open, like when you talk about things like sex and especially all this like, you know, open conversation in general, you're a
You're a problem.
fuckboy.
Oh,
You're a
yeah.
problem.
And
You're
you know,
this,
like,
you're that. I'm like,
I was saying, like I had to learn. I was like, okay, those are not okay. But what's okay is if I'm open about what I wear, or you know
Right.
what, if you want to be conservative, that's okay. That's your choice. But if I want to be whatever, and I know there's nothing wrong with who I am as a person,
right.
those are things I should like focus on and like also like unlearn like the bad patterns. And I
yeah.
think that's the part that I feel like people are missing. They want to like really portray this like image. It's like, no, but we don't talk about sex, and we don't talk about like this. We don't talk about that.
It's
but,
not classy. You cannot talk about
but
sex.
I'll be racist. I'll be sexist.
Right.
Because
like,
everyone's
homophobic.
because these people don't like live in like this is why like the certain like rooms are like real tiring to me because I'm like, yo, these people don't live in like a real world. Like everyone's basing their perception off of like whatever character that they've shown to their socials, because behind closed doors y'all are not supportive people. Behind closed doors y'all don't really care about representation. Behind closed doors like you are a little racist, right? Like behind closed doors you do feel like some level of supremacy about some identity of your life, regardless of what you say to me. Like, because I would leave a lot of these places and I'm all like, damn, like I have to put on a face because y'all are like, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, y'all are all fake as fuck.
They're all cookie cutter. Like they want to like all fit the like a perfect image like in front of the public. But then BTS, they're like a whole different person.
Something as simple as you said you kept comments.
Yeah.
I've had people hit me and be like, yo, can you delete this comment for me?
No.
And I'm like, fam, you're trying to curate. Now you're going from curating your personality and brand for the internet to now you're curating people's perception.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even letting them have that.
Right.
And that's so interesting because I think when we started our social media, like he said, he was shaking his ass. And I was just
I was shaking my ass left and right.
And I was dating and I was like,
have an
fuck
ass.
men. Yeah,
Right.
Anyway, I was like, fuck men. And like, I got so much hate and we both did. And I think at least 40% of it was hate because they weren't used to someone just like being like so like brown and Bengali and like talking about like openly. I was talking about sex and they're like, oh my God, you're a girl. You're not supposed to.
You're not
I'm
supposed
like,
to talk about it.
I'm like, listen, I don't care. If I'm being safe, like, I don't care what you think. And like, I got so much hate and I didn't like, you know what it is? Like at this point, it doesn't faze me. Like, what else could you think of me? Like, you clearly know what I stand for. And if you think like I'm annoying, that's the least of my concern.
And also like, I want to go back to like, how you mentioned, my shit, you watch my content. Like what's the problem actually addressing it? Some people are like so like centralized. They want to like, oh, I'm a little upper than you. Like, I don't want to say like I watch you or I want to.
Weirdest thing in the world. Weirdest thing in the world.
We watch everyone. If you even saw our podcast, we watch everybody.
We're
watchers.
Let me tell you something.
That's why when I said the person that I replied to and then they acted like they didn't see it, I was like, be so fucking for real.
Exactly.
You saw that shit. Like,
exactly.
And look, like we love being like supporters of good things. Look, like we also could have been like, oh yeah, like we don't see your podcast, but we watch your podcast. We love your podcast. And like I said, like not only did I quote it, I also commented and I love to show support. Like that's always been the case. Like, of course, if you don't show me support back, it's like, all right, I'm going to fall back at some point. But it's like, we are watchers. We show love to people who deserve to be shown love to. And sometimes we don't agree with things and we don't care for that.
And disagreement is fine, but I feel like people really need to like stop rubbing it personally. And I feel like let's actually like learn from, like I said, we need to hear each other out. I'm sure you had some guests where you're like, oh, I don't align with that, but I'm like, I'm learning, I'm hearing you out. I'm learning. I mean, I can quote so many lines from your podcast. I the other day I heard like, oh, are we actually cancer? Like the same goes for us. I'm like, wait a second, are we actually can? But I feel like given that people are not giving you enough time to actually learn from things. They're like, oh, like you said it, that's it, done. No.
And I mean, listen, one, I don't think we're big enough to ever be like, or to have been canceled. And second thing, it's like, what are you canceling me for? My opinions that are like, that you just don't agree with, but I know morally though, I know what I stand for. And
what I realize is that like when people go to like move you from the internet, that's their take on it. Because there's going to be 100 others or 1,000 others or 1,000,000 others that are going to rock with you for that same exact reason, right? The thing that you stand on, right, is going to have both sides, right? And as long as you feel comfortable sitting on the right side of it, I'm good, right? Because I'm like, yo, I think about it in like business a lot, right? I'm like, yo, you could always do shitty business, right? And you could always do business that's profit maximizing, but I always want to rock with the person that's specifically going to fuck with me because I handle shit like in their view of the right way and in my view of the right way, more importantly.
I'm sure you're going to watch yourself like 5 or 6 years later. You're going to watch this podcast or you're going to watch yourself and you're going to be like, I was actually on the right side of the history. Like what I talked about, like this is legit. Like I didn't back down for like a simple check, a small check. I'm not going to like settle down for that. So when you watch yourself, like I feel like that's growth. When I can reflect on myself and say like, oh shit, I was actually right. Like, I was doing something that was meaningful. So I think that's
also
really
if we
important.
were wrong, looking back and being like, hey, by the way, I was wrong. So I'm so big on always talking about mistakes because I'm so big on transparency. And I know like I can make a mistake like right now, but it's like, but the fact that I can own up to the fact that I made a mistake here, that to me is big. And that to me is what's important. I do believe like, obviously, I mean, prior to all of this, like I said, I myself supported a brand that, that I made a video about it, which did go viral. And I feel like did I make a mistake? Yes. And I can admit to the fact that I made the mistake. And I think that's That's important.
I'm so jealous of where y'all are at with y'all journey, right? That's why I keep telling y'all the same things, because y'all are a true.
Talk your shit sometime.
Y'all are truly.
Listen, you're doing great too.
No, but y'all are
You're amazing.
Y'all are such a good reminder of like the beauty of like coming into something and truly, authentically living that. Because like I feel like, and this is like honestly and transparently, I look at the year and a half that I've been doing this, and I see a portion of it where I really got caught up in like the business of it, and that became like the primary focus outside of like that pure authentic place where it came from. And like seeing y'all, it's always like a reminder to like, that's why we do this shit, right? Like that's why I keep telling y'all like, yo, don't lose that, right? Because like I've lost it, right? But to stay true to like, yo, this is the voice, this was the voice that I wanted to hear inside the space, right? I'm not wiping that down, I'm not homogenizing that for anybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is why I'm here.
I was going to say, we've had the same voice for a while now, and I don't think that's changing ever.
Our tone is going to be the same.
At this point, we know who we are. Maybe some of our, we'll learn more. We'll obviously, like, probably our mindset will change about certain things, but who we are as people, the core beliefs, and, like, what we can align with and cannot, those will always stay the same. And, yeah, like, we stand by everything we've done, because I do believe mistakes are made to happen, and I stand with everything, like our full journey and how we've come up. I mean, I have received so many PR packages, and I chose not to like work with brands because I just cannot. And I am so proud of all the steps that I have taken so far to be where I am. And I feel like we're going to be attracting people who are going to be on the same path as us.
And I want people to definitely like watch us, and, you know, like that's the journey. I feel like I say this like famous catchphrase like Bhandoppis a lot, and that's like the title. So I'm like, you know, we're all friends here, we're all in this together. So I feel like you need to like be here to actually like, you know, see the growth and like learn together, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, our podcast is all about like not being censored and like unfiltered, and it's probably gonna get us in a lot of trouble. I love that.
I'm with it, bro. I'm with it, fam.
You don't want to lose your spark, right? You don't want to lose your spark because of like, you know, I don't want you to feel, I don't want you to shy away from having to like, you know, I know what you want to say in your head, say it. Don't lose your spark, because like that's the real shit. And I feel like some other people, if even though they're one person you're not saying it for, they might not like it, but 10 other people is gonna like you for that.
And you know, I was gonna say
a lot of people who watches us, you know, like the love is still there. I love the girls, the thems. They're always there. I always get approached on the street. It's so funny, like, you know, everyone in New York like has seen your shit. Right, everyone, because it's such a small community, and like being on the internet, and I always get like approached on the street, like some people like, oh, Dana Katapuri, and like who's like Dana Katapuri is like so silly, and I'm like, you don't even know.
It basically means like wingless fairy, by the way. Like,
I'm so silly. So I'm like Dana Katapuri, and then people approach me like Bhandoppi, and I'm like I love that. You know, I love meeting people. I love like talking to people. I ask everyone's name, and I'm like, because I treat them as like my friends. And that's the comedy we're trying to build. Like, you know, this is what
our community has always been, the more marginalized community, like very marginalized community within the South Asian community. And I really strongly believe that I don't have to say South Asian to be represented. I can say Bengali, and you know geography. Like, we're all smart enough. Like, you know where Bangladesh is. So I don't think we're only relatable by Bengali people. I always thought we were relatable by South Asian community, which is why, like, our following is also just South Asian community. Our guests that we're about to have on are South Asian people. They're not just Bengali. And I just think just because we're saying Bengali, just using the Bengali words, which by the way, Indian people do it all the time.
Right.
Why can't we just be known for that South Asian community we're building? And it's always been very, very marginalized, which is, we talk about it all the time. We do it for the gays and the thems and the girlies, of course. But that's because that's who watch us. Honestly, we don't do it for the men.
Our like content really serves like beyond this community too, because like I'm like a Gen Z, so I always like quote like, you know, like the current like phrase like, oh, there must be something in the water, like be so silly too. So I'm like,
that's how you know I'm old. I have no idea what that is. Like, that's a real Gen Z.
Have you been to Krispy Kreme?
Yes.
Was it crispy?
I don't. It's not like a.
Was it crispy though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. There must be something in the water. In that water.
So I say this. Did you pray today? Okay. So I'm like saying like a lot of this thing. I'm like, our content goes really beyond. Like, obviously I lived life here and there. It serves beyond the Bengali community, beyond the South Asian community. You obviously can entertain other people. You have interviewed other people, right? Beyond the South Asian community. So you can do it.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is this like, you cannot grow beyond this circle. This like, don't like, compress
just
me
because
into.
we're using certain words doesn't mean all of a sudden you can't relate to it. Just because you hear that we have an accent or like a word isn't said properly, all of a sudden you can't relate to us. That's not true. I mean, honestly, like we've always been.
It becomes like larger than like actual thing. Like think about how like obviously like chai being the through line, right? You think about how ubiquitous that has become in like the American lexicon, and that's like a brown ass word, right? And that will continue to happen. I think we're wrapping up, guys, but we end every podcast with a segment called Call Your Shot, right? It's my idea and version of like manifesting, I guess. It's something you say next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, personal, business, that you will make happen. The idea being that y'all say it up here. When y'all go ahead and make it happen, I will clip it up and send it to y'all. So y'all, call your shot.
Okay. I'm manifesting that we're going to be big. Our podcast will not only pick up, but be well known by not just the community, but overall itself. And we're going to be just hotter and better and just sexier.
And I feel like we do this together. I feel like we're
going to be friends forever.
Friends forever. I feel like she's my long lost soulmate. So obviously find us at YouTube, Instagram, TikTok
Chat with
Bhandoppis. And this is your Dev, the Bhandoppis together forever.
Yeah.
Yo, thank y'all for listening. Peace. Yo.
Peace.